Okay, everyone, I think we can begin. We don't want to be waiting too long. A very, very warm welcome to the session. I am recording it and I will share it with everybody. So for everyone who is going to be listening to the recording as well, a very warm welcome to you as well. Can I just quickly get a thumbs up that you can hear me nicely before I commence? Anybody can just quickly just pop a thumbs in. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Um, so far, guys, part one and part two have gone really well across the groups. There were a lot of good marks in with amongst all the students. So thank you guys so much for all the great ideas and all the effort that went into those first two parts. I know, ladies and gents, that it's crunch time at the moment. I know there's a lot of assignments that are due and ICE tasks that are due and things that are happening. So I always just tell the students, just keep positive, keep looking forward, one step closer, guys, to getting to the end. So yeah, just keep positive. I know it might feel like there's a lot of work, but you guys can really do it as well. So obviously the next part of our POE is obviously task 3. Task 3 again is 30 marks and it leads on from task 1 and task 2. So you would have identified your idea in task 1 and then you would have fleshed it out in a little bit more detail in task 2, done some feasibility studies, looked at what type of ownership you are going to be following for the idea, and then we move on to task 3. So in task 3, just to give you an overview, we look at some ethical considerations for the task, and then we're also going to be looking at some business functions within the business that you have created. So what type of functions will your specific business need to have as part of their operating plan? So it is due next week, Monday, if I remember correctly. Let me just quickly double check that date. Yes, the 20th of May, which is Monday. So we've got a few more days left on it. And obviously it's a continuation from task 1 and task 2. Take the feedback that you would have got and obviously then go and complete task 3 for it. Please, if you've got questions as I'm going through it, guys, stop me, let me know, type it up, or put your microphone on. And if you are listening to the recording and if you still have a question, please don't hesitate to send myself, Theo, or Peter an email and we will respond as best as what we can as well. Okay, so let's jump right into the task. Let's jump right into the questions that you would have. Sure, guys. Okay, sorry, I see this has completely changed my font here, so it's quite hard to read that. I apologize. I don't know why it changed. I know, I can't see it either. Don't worry, this is just taken exactly from, I'm going to read it to you, so please don't panic what it says. I'm going to read it. It's completely changed the background. It was a dark background, but now as it got loaded up, it completely edited it, but I'm going to read it to you as well. So this beginning part of the slide literally just comes straight from part 3. So the introduction to part 3, I'm just going to read it from the POE, from the document. It says, starting up and managing a business requires one to act responsibly and ethically at all times. It is imperative that one carefully considers the management team as well as the opportunities that franchising can present to a business to create a bigger brand name and an increase in market share. In this task, you will discuss some aspects of franchising and develop a brief code of conduct for your business. In order to complete this task, you are expected to conduct further desktop research. Okay, so that is basically what this was saying. I see it has changed absolutely completely, so please don't panic. So that's just telling us a little bit more about the task and what is expected from the task as well. Okay, so a question there about the references. We always say on a second year level, it's not necessarily about per question, but if you can have 2 extra references that you have consulted throughout the assignment, then that would be acceptable. So 2 or 3 extra references that you would have per question, then would be would be a way to maximize marks. You'll see a lot of the information from this topic, a lot of information specifically that comes from the textbook. We'll discuss it as well, and then obviously any other source that you can find for a definition or a supporting argument would then be advisable in that as well. And welcome, Peter. I see you also joined into the session. Thank you so much. Please feel free to chip in where you need to. We haven't exactly started yet. I was just reading on the screen because it was so faint. I was just reading the instructions of the first little part of part 3 that we would have there. But welcome, Peter.
Thank you very much, Kim. Good evening, everybody. I was marking and I didn't see. I thought it was still early, and then I checked my computer and I see it's 19:35. So I do apologize.
No, we had literally just started, so don't stress, Peter. I know when our heads are down in the marking mode, I completely understand that.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody, I'm going to start then with question 1. So keep in mind that we are looking at the ethics of the business, we are looking at the franchising of the business, and we are looking at the management team. So those are the 3 main concepts that we are going to focus on when we speak about part 3, okay? As always, I have given you some page reference numbers that you can use as a starting point, as a guide. So this is obviously taken from the prescribed textbook, the 6th edition. So these are the page numbers, and it's always nice just to have a base of where you can kind of start from as well. Okay, so the first question is asking us for 4 marks. You'll see it's only 4 marks, but it's a lot of reading for this question. So you need to go and do a lot of research on the question for those 4 marks. The question is saying that at some point you might consider to franchise your business. So you want to grow your business, you want to increase your market share, you might considering franchising at some point. Should this be the case, what type and what model of franchise will your business enter into? Okay, so it's important to see that we are talking about 2 different sort of concepts, 2 different concepts in this question. So if we are looking at 4 marks, so we don't need a lengthy essay on the question. What you are going to focus on, let's break it up into 2 points, and then I can unpack that question as well about the theory in it as well. So we've got the 2 marks for type of franchising, and we've got 2 marks for the model of franchising. So it's important to see, ladies and gents, that we are specifically looking for 2 answers in this question. We are looking for the type of franchise as well as the model of franchise, and each of those would then count 2 marks. Okay, so you would need a very short definition of what you are going to be highlighting as your franchise. Okay, so it doesn't have to be an essay on the franchise. A short definition on the type of franchise would be sufficient for this question. Okay, so let's speak about the type first. Okay, so the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what type of franchise are we going to be looking at? Okay, so in our second year business theory, you would have seen that there are 2 types of franchising. You need to pick one of those franchising and give a short definition or explanation about what that type of franchising is. Okay, let's say, for example, you have spoken about product or trade name franchising. So let's say that that's the franchising that you have chose. Your typical answer would be like, for the product or for my business idea, I would choose product franchising because product franchising is, and then you give a short definition of what product franchising is or what business type franchising is. Okay, so for a question like that, you don't need to go into a lot of detail about it, but you do need to have a brief definition or explanation about the type of franchising that you are going to enter into. Okay, so we first look at type, And a lot of the time, students only give us the type of franchising and then they forget about the model. Remember, it is two distinct concepts that we are working with. The first concept is the type of franchise. So decide between the two, which one is most likely going to be applicable to your business, okay? If you are struggling to decide, I always tell the students there is not really a right or wrong for this because it's your business idea in terms of how you are going to franchise it, okay? But for a lot of organizations, there's definitely a more correct way of franchising than it would be. Let's say, for example, you are specifically focusing on a product. So you want to franchise a product, but your business is a service. You can see that those two are not linked. So obviously that wouldn't be a recommended way in which you're going to do it. Okay, so just a brief definition of the type of franchising that you are going to be using or that you would recommend for your business would be sufficient for that as well. And the same goes with the model, okay? So when it comes to model, we have a few more choices, all right? So we have up to, if I recall, it's something like 14 or 15 different models of franchising. Again, you pick the one that is going to be best suited to your business idea and give us a brief definition in a way of an explanation as to what that model is and how it would be applicable to your business idea. So again, we don't need an essay on it. It only counts 2 marks. So you need to have the model, so the name of the model, whether it is a joint venture or whether it is a unit franchise or whether it is a social franchising organization, you need to just pick it and then give a definition, an explanation about what that particular model of franchising is, okay? So you need to say what type of franchise it is, and in your explanation you are going to justify why you have said that. It needs to make sense that we can say, okay, I see why you said product, trade franchising and unit franchise, because it makes sense to the business idea that you have given us as well, okay? But again, it doesn't need to be an essay, all right? So your justification here doesn't need to be a lengthy justification. A simple reason why and a simple definition is going to be suffice for this question. Okay. Let's just quickly see if there are, yeah, so a good starting point would be to read over 167. On page 167, they speak about the different types of franchising, and then from 168 onwards they go into more detail about the models of franchising. Sometimes when we're reading the models of franchising, like I said, there are 15 of them. I always tell the students, especially my face-to-face students, I always say, go with your gut. You know which one, when you are reading through those, there is going to be one that sort of makes more sense to you. Stick with that one. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't rattle your brain about which model you are going to pick. Stick with the one that sort of jumps out, that is your I always say, go with your gut. You know which one it's going to be, okay? Marty, I'm not too sure. Peter, what would you say there would be a word count? We've never really stuck to a word count for this question. Generally, yeah, you go, Peter.
I, I would always say to my students, just face to face, just answer the question. And the question is identify, type and model, justify. As soon as you've done that, you've earned your 4 marks. So it's not necessary to write a paragraph or whatever the case might be. It's answer the question as it's stated there. So first of all, identify and then justify. But I know it's short and sweet, but that's the way I would look at it.
Especially for 4 marks. I mean, you really don't need a lengthy explanation here. So keep it short, keep it sweet. Remember, there's other long questions that are coming up, but for this one, for the 4 marks, if you've identified, like Peter says, and you've justified, you've given a reason why in ways of an explanation, then that's going to be perfect for that question. Yes. Okay, so I think then I'll move on to question 2. Please, guys, if you've got any other questions, you're welcome to jump in again. So question 2 then speaks about the ethics. So question 2 and question 3, we jump into sort of more ethical related questions. The second question for 6 marks is asking us to discuss 3 ethical dilemmas that your business might be faced with. And it's important to realize that here our answers are going to vary quite considerably because all the business ideas are very different. Okay, so you need to just think about your business idea and think about in what way is your business going to be faced with an ethical dilemma. So when we speak about an ethical dilemma, I always tell the students as well, it's that moment when the business has to make a decision between what is right and what is wrong. So remember, if we are, what is the ethically correct choice that we need to make here? Remember, a lot of businesses can maybe make an extra profit on certain things, but then they are cutting on quality or not getting rid of their waste correctly, but their profits are increasing, but the way that they are getting the profit is unethical. It is not right. And it's those situations that your business might be faced with. So at the cost of what do you need to sacrifice in order to make more of a profit as well? So an ethical dilemma. In our textbook, they give us some examples or they give us some theory around ethical dilemmas. You need to sort of take that theory and then discuss 3 ethical dilemmas that might be applicable to your business. Okay, so let's take, for example, quality. Okay, so you now in this business, maybe your business is manufacturing tables and chairs, and you now have got a cheap wood supplier, but you know that that's not going to last long, but you're going to make more profits because you are saving costs. Are you going to buy the cheaper material at the risk of it breaking or what? But you are making more profit because you have cut costs. An ethical dilemma specific to your organization that you would have in there as well. Okay, so you need to be applying it to your business. Okay, so here it's not really a theoretical question that you are going to give the examples that are specific to your business. Okay, so false advertising or advertising that is not correct according to your business. Maybe you are advertising something that isn't correct. Maybe you are cutting corners on the safety of your product. So you are, let's say your business is installing solar panels. Are there any safety corners that you have maybe been that you can cut to gain profit, but it's the wrong thing to do? Can you see that those are the type of ethical decisions, those are the dilemmas, the choice between right or wrong that you might be faced with within your business? Okay, so it might be to do with, like we said, advertising. So maybe you are selling a let's say a fruit juice, and you are advertising it as 100% apple juice, but meanwhile it's not 100% apple juice because you've added pear or whatever else it is inside there, but you are falsely advertising it because you know it will sell more. So again, gaining profits but sacrificing quality or service or competitiveness or whatever it may be in that situation. Okay, so any ethical dilemma, anything that the business needs to, like I say, make a choice between what is right or wrong. And again, it has to be applicable to your business idea. Okay, so it has to be something that is applicable to your business idea. Also important to remember, and I'm going to just circle this word, it's very important that this is what might happen to your business. Okay, so it's not to say that this is going to happen to your business or that these are the choices, but you say, if this business had to grow and develop, these are some of the situations that I need to be aware of. I need to make sure that I am using good quality products, okay, that I am making sure that my workers' health and safety is always the top of my priority, or that my advertising is true and honest. Okay, so I need to uphold my integrity when it comes to to those aspects. Yeah, so those are the type of ethical dilemmas we are looking for. Again, there are 3 of them that you need. So you are going to write and explain 3 of them, and each of them would then be worth 2 marks, okay? So if we look at our word count here, you've got 3 ethical dilemmas, and each one would be 2 marks. So again, we don't need a lengthy essay about the ethical dilemma. A short, brief description about what the ethical dilemma is in relation to your business would be suffice and acceptable for this question. So 3 dilemmas, 3 different situations in which the business would need to have to choose between, like I said, right and wrong, and a brief explanation, definition of what that is. Okay, so remember, I always get a lot of questions for this on this, so I'm just going to quickly answer it just to make sure. Remember, the ethical dilemmas that we are dealing with now in theory would be based on the textbook. Okay, so the textbook is where the theory comes in. So any of the ethical dilemmas that you have created has a starting point from the textbook. Okay, so we understand that this is your own thinking of your ethical dilemmas. We know that this is your own thought and all that, but you still need to have an in-text reference, especially if you have used the textbook to base your thoughts, your ideas on. They come from somewhere, okay? And that place is, let's say, the textbook, or if you've used another source. So please, guys, don't forget that even this question, even though it's your ethical dilemmas that you are creating, they are still based on the theory that we have read in the textbook. So please don't forget to reference this question as well for in-text referencing as well. Sometimes students say, but Kim, it's my own ideas, it's my own thinking here. And like I say, we absolutely understand it is your ideas, but it's still based on theory. It's still based on something that you have read. Okay, so just remember that in the back of your mind as well. Anything else from your side, Peter, on question 2, or any students who've got questions on question 2 before we move on to question 3?
No, Kim, I'm very happy with the way you approached it. Sorry, it sounds now very patronizing, but and as you quite correct said, it must be applicable to their business. Uh, I think that's important because you would use this information again in your business plan.
Yes, 100%. So make sure it's applicable to your own business. It's going to be specific to your business idea. And so we're moving on from a lot of what we're going to be doing now would obviously be part of your specific business idea as well. Okay. Then question 3, if we move on here. So we're moving on to the next part for 5 marks, okay? Again, we're specifically thinking of ethics, and now we're moving on to the code of ethics, okay? So they are asking to describe and justify 5 specific issues that you will include in your code of ethics, okay? So in the past, we used to ask the students to actually draw up the code of ethics, but for this year, we are just looking for the specific issues within your code of ethics, okay? So again, if you, on page 213 and 217 in the prescribed textbook, you'll see all the information you need to draw up a code of ethics. We are specifically focusing on the specific issues. So how would you approach this question? Typically what we are looking for is we are looking for 5 specific issues. So again, you're going to have to describe and justify 5 issues that your business would be facing, okay? So let's just give you some context. Remember, a code of ethics is put into place to make sure that everybody within that organization is following the same amount or the same set of rules or the same guidelines that the organization, okay? So all the employees are conducting themselves in a specific way because that the behaviors have been set out in the code of ethics. So all employees know what behavior is acceptable and what behavior is not acceptable. Obviously, this is closely related to the company values. So in your code of ethics, you're going to ask yourself as well that your code of ethics should reflect what you value as a company. So what your values are. So how are you going to get your employees to behave? What are the company values that you are going to reflect within your code of ethics? You don't have to you don't have to write up the code of ethics. We are only doing one section of the code of ethics, which pertains to the specific issues within the code of ethics. Okay, so some examples of specific issues would be conflict of interest. So when you have people who are within the organization that are perhaps working for another organization and that shouldn't be allowed if it's specific to your business. Maybe your business is selling a specific I'm trying to think of some of the business ideas, selling a certain wellness product, and there's a specific recipe to make that protein shake or that wellness product, and that recipe needs to be a secret. You can't go and share that with everybody. So that would be in the code of ethics. You would want your employees to know that they need to keep that information secret. It cannot be shared outside of the organization. How to treat fellow employees. So things like looking at sexual harassment within your organization, how to treat women, how to treat men, how to treat everybody within the organization, making sure that you are complying with different laws within the organization. So if you are a builder, for example, let's speak now is all the people, the code of ethics says as soon as you go onto site, you need to wear your hard hat. Okay, so all the employees know that that is the rule. They need to do it. It's a code of ethics. It's the way that they're going to behave. Keeping information safe, like we've said, being environmentally responsible. So making sure that the organization and all the people in the organization are being responsible towards the environment. I'm trying to think of other examples. Specific ways in how to deal with customers could be written into your code of ethics, or how to treat customers, how to deliver customer service. You have these rules of behavior in your organization so that all employees conform to the same set of values and the same behavior traits as well. Okay, so certain things like giving and receiving gifts and in a work environment also needs to be set out in a code of ethics. What is acceptable and what is not acceptable for your organization? Okay, again, remembering that this is going to be different for different organizations. So what of these specific issues would be pertaining to your organization? And then you're going to write them in sort of a list form would be acceptable, describing and justifying 5 specific issues that you are going to include. Okay, so we need what the issue is and again how it is related to your business. Okay, so it's a little bit more writing for 1 mark that you're going to be getting per issue, but we do need to see both the description and the justification of the business of the code of ethics for your business. So just to clarify, we don't need to know, you don't need to write a full-on code of ethics with a preamble and all the general obligations. You are only going to focus on the specific issues, and you can choose any 5 specific issues that you are going to describe and justify. So apply it to your business. How would it be applicable to your business? Making sure that that code of ethics is portraying what you value within the company as well. I hope that makes sense as well, guys. Peter, anything? I know I keep on asking you, but anything else that you want to chip in for question 3? Any other students who've got some questions on question 3?
I have nothing to add, Kim. I'm fine.
Perfect. Thank you, Peter. Please, guys, if you've got questions, you're welcome to ask them. So now we've finished with the smaller questions. You'll see the last question in our part 3 is quite a big question. So it is the biggest question that you would need to do here. You'll see it counts 15 marks for the question. So it is 50% of the paper would be this, but it is really not a difficult question. Okay. So in the question is saying to us, explain 5 functional areas of your business, and remember to include a function or a task that each function will be responsible for. Okay, so 5, they say at least 5. If you have done your 5 well enough, you are going to get the marks for 5. Okay, so it doesn't need to be 10 of them. I know the word at least is here, but I always tell the students, if you have given 5 functional areas, then that's going to be acceptable. So we're looking at 5 functional areas for 15 marks. Okay, so each of them technically would count 3 marks, if we can just write it like that. 5 functional areas for 3 marks. Those 3 marks are going to come from the explanation of what, pardon me, the explanation of what the functional area is, as well as a task that each of those functions are going to be responsible for. So it's very, very important that you don't just say that one of the functional areas is marketing. Marketing is when we do a promotion. That will get you 1 mark, okay? We need to be specific with the tasks and the responsibilities for each of these functional areas. So let's break it up and let's start right at the bottom. I've given you a page reference number there as well. What you will see on page 228 is they actually just give you a very nice diagram or a little block of different functional areas of business management. And from that, you can then flesh it out and add your definitions and explanations as well. So you will recall from even first year business management that some of the functional areas, if we just had to list them off the top of our head, some of the functional areas that we deal with in business management is obviously human resources, marketing, financial management. We look at manufacturing, purchasing and supply chain management. We look at public relations, okay? We look at operations within the business. So there's a lot of functional areas that allow a business to operate successfully. Your job is to choose 5 functional areas that you would include in your business. So which 5 functional areas would you include? Which 5 areas of management are you going to include in your business, okay? And then say, in that department, what is a task that department would be responsible for? So explain a task, a duty, a job that specific functional area or department is going to be responsible for. So step 1, we are looking for a definition of the functional area. And step 2, we are looking for a task, a detailed task of what that function area is going to be responsible for. Let's say, just to keep it simple, for example, let's say that you have selected financial management. So you are saying that one of the functional areas that your business would need would be to have a financial department. A financial department is responsible for, give a definition or a brief overview of what the financial department does, so a theoretical explanation, and then move on to say, in your business, the financial team would be responsible to set up a budget for whatever project or whatever it is that is specific for your business, okay? Or you might say that the financial department, their task is to allocate funds for research and development because you are creating a new product or a new innovation or whatever it might be. So there's a specific task that is related to the functional area, and you are going to do that 5 times. You are going to do that for 5 functional areas. So you can choose, let's say, financial, marketing, HR. So let's say you've chosen HR as an example. Human resources, give a definition, a theoretical explanation of what human resources is. Remember to reference the information, please, and then say, in your specific business, what is human resources, what is the team of HR responsible for? So maybe your example would be HR would be responsible to recruit waitresses for the business that you are going to be specific, because that is what their specific task is in your business. Okay, so what are they going to be responsible for a specific task? What is their job going to be in relation to the business that you have created? So please don't just give us the things that they're going to do. Don't just give us the task. It's very important. Remember, it's worth 3 marks each. So it's very, very important that you do include an explanation of the 5 functional areas, okay? So I would, if it was my task, I would have divided up into 5, have the explanation and the application together, then move on to the next functional area. Theory, application, move on to the next functional area. So define and apply. That's how I would approach it. And obviously, you need at least 5. If you want to have 6, you can have 6. There's no specific thing, but 5 is, if you do the 5 correctly and sufficiently, and you have enough theory and application for the 5, then you will get your 15 marks for that as well. It's not necessary to go over 5 unless you really, really have a desire to add all the functions. You can really just do 5 functional areas, okay? So also important to note that in our textbook, I think they give you 7 functional areas. Those are what we term as the 7 main functional areas. There are some other functional areas that might be more applicable to your business. So for example, in our specific textbook that we use, we don't necessarily speak about the IT function. So we don't really speak about software or information technology. But a lot of the ideas that we have got have been developing apps or making something on the computer. So you might want to include an IT department in your as your functional, and that is fine. So it doesn't have to stick, you don't have to stick to what is in the textbook, as long as you just reference where you found that specific functional area or that department in. So we are happy if you, well, I think I stand corrected, but I'm sure Peter, you feel the same with me. If you feel there is a functional area that you need to add in because it is relevant to your business, then you are welcome to add that functional area in. Yeah, so that really is question 4. Yes, Peter?
No, I'm quite happy with that because it again must be relevant to your business. So as you said, if it has an IT services business, then obviously there will be an IT department, and you use that then, or an IT function.
Yes, yeah. So, I know some students sometimes want to only stick to what's in the textbook, but you guys, you really can use external resources as well. You don't have to, we know that there are other functions that you can also use as well. So thanks for that, Peter. I appreciate it. Any other questions from the students in the group? Let's quickly see how many. Okay, guys, it's very, very quiet tonight in the group. Yeah, okay, so thanks, Marty. So don't forget to reference, guys. Remember, you need in-text referencing and a full reference list, okay? So that's very, very important. You're going to submit it as per normal on VC Learn 20th of May, so that's next week, Monday. Remember to please submit before midnight. Anything after midnight within the 24 hours gets minus 15%, and that's a lot, ladies and gents. Trust me, you don't want to be minus, you don't want to get that penalty as well. Shame. Thank you. So yeah, please let us know. I know that you guys will be working on it. Please let us know if there's any other questions. I will make this recording available to all the other students who maybe didn't who weren't able to join tonight. So I'll share the link as soon as it has converted. And just a reminder that everything is linking. So your task 1 needs to link to task 2, 3, and 4. So everything is going to be linked together. You know that you're not going to change your ideas now. Your idea is your idea is your idea. So let's just stick to that as well. Okay. Yeah, that really is all from my side. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thanks again, Peter. I really, really appreciate the time and the effort to support us here. So thanks from my side, and good luck, everyone. Once again, we are looking forward to seeing your work. Keep going, guys. We're almost at the exams and then almost at the recess. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Kim. Bye, everybody. Thank you very much.
Bye, Peter. Lekker aand.
Hetzelfde daar.
Bye.